Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're exploring the world of these fascinating type of orchids. There are the Oncidiums and the Oncidiums Intergeneric alliance. I have other videos about it, I will link them down below, but today I will try to talk a little bit more about them and show you this beauty that's always in bloom for me, and I have others in bud at the moment as well. So if you're curious about this topic, if you want to know a little bit more about these orchids, stay here with me and let's start. So just to let you know, my idea was to hold this plant. However, it's so big and doesn't fit on the frame. So I will put it down, but I will show you lots of B-rolls. Let's go. Let's talk about the habitat, where these orchids come from, because when we talk about it, we will know how we should take care of these orchids. So to start, most of the Oncidiums, they come from the forests of South America. You can find them there in a different range of habitats, but mostly in the humid forests, in the humid tropical forests. Where I come from, there are many Oncidiums, especially inside the Atlantic forest. It's beautiful to see. So thinking about these specifically, some of the intergenerics that we find locally, they are hybrids. They are cross of different orchids, including Oncidiums. But just to simplify, usually the care is very similar. Some of them are a little bit more peculiar. So just to let you know, I'm removing Miltoniopsis, Nelly Isler, and these out of the way because they go into more like some of cool to intermediate type of growing orchids. The ones that I'm including here are more towards the intermediate to warm type of orchids. So most of them will come from the Oncidiums and then they will be mixed with some other species. So let's talk about light. What's the light preference for these orchids? So most of them, they require high light to grow. They are a little bit more specific than Phalaenopsis that we can keep almost everywhere that we have some filtered light. These orchids though, the Oncidiums, they do require some bright light. So I would, if you live in a country that's in the northern hemisphere as I did, please choose maybe an east-facing window or a south one that will have some curtains to sheer the light. They will love, they will adore it. Another thing that you can also do is to grow it under some bright growing lights. They will love it as well. And be careful with the shaded, very shaded locations. Like with Phalaenopsis, we can grow them in maybe in office spaces. Oncidiums I wouldn't try because, as I said, they like their brighter light. So moving from the light, let's talk specifically about watering. These orchids, they love their water, and different from Cattleyas and Phalaenopsis as well, I would say that don't let them dry for a very long time. They don't appreciate it. They like to be even moist, preferably all the time. They wouldn't die if you forget to water them, but they love to be watered most of the year. And if you notice their roots, they are very thin. They look like some of them like hair. So the reason why they are so thin is that because they cannot keep water inside development for a long time. They have the pseudobulbs, but even so, they will shrivel, they will become wrinkled super fast. So these plants, they adore their water. That's why I usually grow them super where I live. I live in London, so if you live in a temperate climate that's not very dry, that is humid, and you have intermediate temperature inside your home, Oncidiums are great and intergenerics because they tend to grow super well in these conditions. However, if you live in a place that is super hot, super dry, be careful because you would have to water these plants probably all the time. They are pretty sensible with extremely heat and they can lose water through the leaves very, very quickly. So for this reason, I think my climate's perfect for them. Where I come from, Brazil, I come from the mountains. So inside the forest, on the mountains, is pretty, the temperature is it's warm, but it's not hot, and it's not extremely dry. It's very humid. So thinking about it, I think they appreciate the humidity around their roots and their leaves. So taking that out of the way, next thing is, how can we keep these orchids? How can we pot them up? The ones that we have, most of them are epiphytes, so they need a lot of air circulation around the root system. So if you have zero experience with Oncidiums and Intergenerics, try to pot them up, maybe in bark, and you can add a little bit of moss to help with humidity. However, avoid soil, avoid suffocating the roots. They won't appreciate it. They need this air circulation. So go with any mix that you find locally that's for orchids. You need orchids mix for these orchids because they need the air around the roots. And if the roots are healthy and nice, soon you're going to have a pot with a ton of roots. And just bear in mind, they are a nightmare to repot. I have some videos down below where I'm repotting some of these orchids. I link them here as well. I'm not going to cover that today, but just be careful when you're repotting them because there are so many roots. If they are healthy, hopefully they will be for you. And another thing is, as I said, air circulation, very important to have an aerated medium. And they love the humidity. They are not fussy about that. But if you water them evenly, if they are moistly, most of the weeks, if they are humid, the potting mix is humid, most of the time they will be super happy. Moist doesn't mean soggy. You don't need to pour a ton of water and let it be. They are not aquatic plants. They don't live in water. But, if you touch your fingers, you can feel that humidity on the potting mix. That's what I mean about that. More than that, as I said, if you live somewhere that's closer to my climate, they are very easy to grow in here because they appreciate the fact that it's humid most of the year. Also, it's not extremely hot inside my house, so I don't experience any hurdle. It's not very, very difficult to grow Oncidiums. It's difficult to grow other orchids though, but not Oncidiums and Oncidiums Intergenerics. They love it. On top of that, they will produce a ton of different blooms. You have intergenerics that have star-shaped flowers. You have red flowers, orange flowers, brown flowers, white, small, big, with different fragrance as well. Some of them are spicy, some of them are not good. Others smells like chocolate. So for these reasons, they are a very nice window if you want to start new orchids. I think you would appreciate Oncidiums and Intergenerics. They are gorgeous. And on top of that, they will definitely produce many flower spikes and they can bloom all over the year. They don't have any specific season. Some of them will bloom more towards spring or autumn, but others will definitely bloom in different seasons, even during winter and summer. So that's another thing for you to bear in mind. If you want to have flowers that are growing in other seasons that are not phalaenopsis flowers, so Oncidiums is definitely something that is true to consider. Something else, you can find them for a very cheap price in my region. I live in the UK. If you start walking around in garden centers, they will bring Oncidiums and Intergenerics from time to time. And when they are not in bloom, they are even cheaper than they were before. So you can find them for discounted price and start growing them and growing your collection without spending much money on them, which is great, right? So its disadvantage is that most of them are large plants. They have a ton of leaves and you need the space to keep them. Not if you have only one or two, but if you decided to collect them, they will definitely need their space because they will grow leaves all over the place. If they have pests, they can be a little bit of a nightmare to clean. But taking these two out of the way, they are great plants to grow, especially if you are a beginner to orchids. If you are getting to know them, most of them are very, very resilient. They will grow and survive in rough conditions as well, as far as you water them. If you forget to water them for a long time, they probably will decline, the roots will die, and you lose your plant. They are not as resilient as other orchids with their dry conditions, but that's the only thing that I would point out here. More than that, these are gorgeous, gorgeous plants. I could not show you this beauty here because it blooms for me multiple times a year. And I feel sometimes that it's always in bloom and don't stop growing, not for even a second. So let me know if you own any Oncidium or any Oncidiums and Intergenerics. What's your favorite? I'd love to hear more from you. If you enjoyed this type of content, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. I'd love to see you soon. Bye bye!